Welcome to this video. In this video, I'll be presenting the second part of my translation into English of one of the early works of the Polish logician Stanisław Leśniewski. The original title of the work in Polish was Podstawy ogólnej teoryi mnogości, which I've translated into English as The Foundations of the General Theory of Aggregates. In this video, I'll simply be going through some of the propositions, definitions and axioms from section 9 up to section 15, which represents the end of the article. I won't be going through the proofs in any real detail, though I may touch on the proofs from time to time, but I will be making some short remarks about some of the sections and brief explanations wherever appropriate as some of the more important propositions, definitions, etc., and how they might be interpreted. This work is in the public domain and can be downloaded from the internet. The website from which I downloaded the digital version of the work can clearly be seen at the bottom of most pages shown in this video. I'll also include a link in the description. Section 9. Section 9 is one of the shortest sections of the work in terms of number of propositions, which has some of the most interesting propositions of the whole work. For example, Proposition 26 explicitly forbids an object which is the class of aggregates which are not elements of themselves. Section 10. In section 10 we see the notion of subaggregate of an object defined. We also see the notion of proper subaggregate of an object defined. As expected, the notion of proper subaggregate excludes the aggregate itself. There are no propositions in this section. Section 11. Section 11 contains a number of propositions which show how the newly defined concepts of subaggregate and proper subaggregate relate to the already existing concepts that have been defined. We can see how Leśniewski thoroughly explores a new concept once it's been introduced. Many of the propositions in this section are not unexpected but are essential for completeness. It's also interesting to note that Leśniewski doesn't shy away from what may be perceived as repetitiveness. Many of the propositions are very similar in nature to one another, such as propositions 36 to 38. But Leśniewski never gives in. He always presents a full proof, even if it's almost identical to a previous proof already given. Section 12. In this section, we have the notion of a universe defined. Proposition 44 shows how there is a universe of all non-contradictory objects. A non-contradictory object would seem to be an object whose existence doesn't lead to some logical contradiction. For example, we might think of something like the class of all classes which are not elements of themselves as being a contradictory object, since the assumption of the existence of such an object leads to a logical contradiction. Proposition 45 shows that there is a unique universe of objects. Section 13. It seems that there is a correction for Proposition 46. The correction which is suggested by the line labelled 1 in the proof is that the statement of the proposition should read, if P1 is an external object relative to the object P, and so on. Proposition 46, when read in the corrected way, therefore, shows that the external object relative to is a symmetric relation, and Proposition 47 shows, unsurprisingly, that it is not a reflexive relation. Sections 14 and 15. Here we have the notion of a complement of an object in an object defined. Following a couple of illustrative examples, we have a number of propositions which show how this new notion integrates with the already existing notions, and bringing us to the end of this work. In relation to the examples of this section, Stanisław Poniatowski was a king of Poland in the 1700s. Also note that I've had to reproduce approximately a couple of missing pages from the digital version of the book. Just a few remarks in closing. I'll be making at least one more video, and additional videos if necessary, going into more detail with the theory presented in this article. There are some quite subtle points and also some slightly surprising results that seem to conflict with the contemporary notion of set, and which I think deserves some further explanation. The title of this work by Leśniewski is Foundations of the General Theory of Aggregates 1, which suggests that Leśniewski intended there to be additional parts. The second part of this particular work never appeared. However, around 1930 or so, Leśniewski published another work titled, in English, On the Foundations of Mathematics, which gave a much more refined account of the contents of the current work and more besides. Therefore, this work could be considered as a kind of prototype of Leśniewski's system, which, though not abandoned, was subject to certain revisions over the years which followed. I'm currently working on a fairly rough translation of this latter work of Leśniewski. It's quite lengthy and so there is a lot to translate, but I hope to make some videos of this in the not too distant future. Thank you for watching. If you found this video useful, then please hit the like button and subscribe to my channel. You can see more videos on various topics on my channel, and if you have any suggestions for topics for future videos, then please feel free to let me know and I'll try my best to put something together. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and keep an eye out for new videos being uploaded to my channel.